The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. This is the Fourth Amendment. One of the rules that enforces the Fourth Amendment is called the Exclusionary Rule. This rule states that no evidence can be used against anyone if it is obtained illegally. So it's saying that if anyone doesn't bring a warrant and shows you a person a warrant, then that evidence, if they go into the house, then that evidence cannot be used against that person. When the landmark case that pushed this rule to its full demands, it's called Fremont Weeks versus U.S. And what this case was about is that Fremont Weeks was allegedly selling lottery tickets through U.S. mail, which this is a federal crime, and so federal agents went to his house and searched and seized things, and so they used the things seized in court, and the prosecution won, and so Weeks was convicted because of selling lottery tickets. Then, after he was convicted, he appealed on grounds that his Fourth Amendment was violated because there was no search warrant when the police agents went into his house, and he won that case, and his whole conviction was revoked because of the violation of his Fourth Amendment. There's a really big conflict with this exclusionary rule, though. This conflict is called the substantial social cost. What it's just saying is that the guilty people are set free, so the criminals are set free because of a mistake that has been made by an agent. And so many people have complaints about this, even Supreme Court judges. There's this very famous Supreme Court judge, Benjamin Cardozo, whom he said, and I quote, "The guilty is free because the constable has blundered." And what he's just saying, he's just reinstating the fact that the guilty are set free because of a very small mistake that has been made by a police agent. There are a few exceptions to this exclusionary rule, one of them being the good faith exception, which is just that a police officer has a warrant and they go to search the place and they take evidence that was not supposed to be taken, that they genuinely did not know that they could not take that evidence. That evidence could be allowed into the court as more incriminating evidence towards the person. Another exception that there is the plain view doctrine. So let's just say an example is that you let a police officer come in and just, for a quick chat, and so the police officer sees something illegal. They have the right to search the place in order to find more incriminating evidence against you because they saw something that it was illegal and that you shouldn't have had in the first place. Another exception that there is to this exclusionary rule, it's called a clerical error exception. In this exception, I'm going to be explaining it through a very famous case. It's called Arizona versus Evans. And what this case is about is that Isaac Evans was going down the wrong way on a one-way street, and so a police officer pulled him over. Once he was pulled over, Mr. Evans informed the police officer that he had a search warrant out for him, and so what the police officer did was arrest him. And while the police officer was arresting Mr. Evans, he saw a bag or a pack of marijuana, and so in the future it was discovered that his warrant was dropped or quashed 2 weeks prior to the arrest, even though that his warrant was dropped 2 weeks before. The charges of the marijuana possession are still in place because it was committed through clerical error, which was a systematic error that the people at the courthouse or doing the typing committed, so it wasn't really on the police officer's fault. It wasn't his fault. The other and the last exception that there is to this exclusionary rule is called emergency entry, and what this is just the police officers, if they see the need that the place or the premises need to be searched and they have a justifiable and viable reason to do so, they are able to go in and search the premises.